Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for All About Android is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/allaboutandroid. That's lynda.com/allaboutandroid. And by LegalZoom. If you're looking to get a trademark, copyright, or provisional patent application and more, LegalZoom can help you get started the right way. LegalZoom is not a law firm, but can connect you with an independent attorney. Visit LegalZoom.com and use offer code AAA in the referral box at checkout this month for your special discount. And by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and searching for the right payments API, check out the Braintree V.0 SDK. With one simple integration, you get every way to pay. To learn more and to try out the sandbox, go to braintreepayments.com/Android. Hello and welcome to another episode of All About Android, episode 214, recorded on Tuesday, May 19th, 2015. We're your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Ron Richards.
How's it going, sir?
Going well.
Is it blustery and blizzardy San Francisco?
It's a little chilly.
Like
it's winter has come to San Francisco again this spring. So
yes.
It's nice.
And it's going to stay through the summer. That's just how it goes.
It's like the good old days. It's like how it used to be. So I enjoy it.
I met someone this weekend actually in San Francisco, somebody that my wife works with, but he lives in Toronto. And he came out and he said the same thing that anybody who has ever come to San Francisco for the first time, like in the warm months, usually says, which is, I thought this was California. I thought it was going to be warm. Yeah, it's not that. It's not like that.
Well, I'm not in studio today because I'm going to the Giants game after the show tonight, of which I need to pull out my winter coat because no doubt it's going to be freezing down by the water. So
you're a brave man.
Yes, thank you, Bryan, for the baseball nod there.
So what time does the game start then? Late?
Starts at like 7:30. So I'm good.
Okay,
yeah.
You'll be good.
Luckily, I'm in the city, so all I got to do is just get a car and go down to the ballpark. So I'm not that far away.
You can just hop, then skip, then jump, and you'll be there. Awesome. We are super excited to welcome back to the show Liam Spradlin, editor at Android Police. How you doing, Liam?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
We are doing awesome. It's so great to have you back. We were talking before the show, and I don't know if you're willing to accept this, but you are the material man. You've got like your finger on the pulse of material design. Anyone ever told you that?
I'll cautiously accept that.
Okay.
Modestly accept it, Liam.
Liam, of course, editor at Android Police, and you write a lot of really good kind of articles at Android Police, specifically kind of around the design of things and all that kind of stuff, plus others. But you also do design work for definitely some apps that fans of this show have heard of plenty of times, and we're going to talk a little bit about that experience. Nova Launcher 4 specifically just released, and you had a big part in that. So good work there. We'll definitely talk all about that. We've also got Google I.O. leaks. We're like a little more than a week away from Google I.O., and we're starting to kind of get a little bit of an inside scoop as far as what we're going to hear about. The newly announced ASUS ZenFone 2, announced yesterday, released today. Android Wear 5.1, or is it 5.1.1? I still don't know exactly, but that's rolling out. We can talk all about that. Microsoft's awesome kind of thing happening around Android apps right now. They just keep knocking it out of the park. There you go. That was for you, Ron. Get it? Okay.
In the spirit.
Okay, yeah. It was a little disconnected from the whole baseball thing, but whatever, it works. And more. Let's get into the news.
In the north of Westeros, they say winter is coming, but here at Twit, Android news is coming.
It's my favorite season, Android news season.
Put on your winter coat, because here's the news. Well, as you mentioned, we're a little less than a week away from Google I/O, and even though we are not making our predictions yet because we actually have one more show to go before Google I/O, I think next week we'll make our predictions. There are starting to be some leaks and rumors. The first one comes from Bloomberg, which says that we should expect a standalone photo service to be announced at Google I/O, which honestly, when I read this, I wasn't that surprised given the slow movement we've already seen with Google depairing photos from Google+. We saw that they added photo support to Google Drive, so you no longer were storing all your photos just in Google+. They moved them over to Google Drive, and there's been weird shuffling of the board, of the pieces of the board of photos in Google and Google+ and all that sort of stuff. So hearing about a photo service, while seems very 2006, 2007 of them, I wouldn't be too surprised to see this actually come true. Jason, do you think that this is viable, or?
Oh, sure. I kind of already feel like maybe we're there. So if it's being announced, I'm wondering what else it will be. I suppose it's still tangentially connected to Google+, but it's launched and treated as a separate app for the most part, as it is right now anyways. So there must be more to this.
The question will be, what will this service be? I mean, of course, whether it's just Google Photos, and if it, is cloud storage, as well as it's some sort of like offline printing solution, or like who knows what, I feel like in order for it to be an announcement at Google I/O, there needs to be something else than just store your photos in the cloud.
Yeah, I completely agree, because we're kind of already doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, I kind of feel like Google would do well to just announce Photos as an app in the Play Store. Just a separate app, not tied to Google+, because currently they're tied together in such a weird way. It's like a plate of spaghetti right now between Google+ and Photos. So I feel like a lot of users would be happy if it just came out as a separate app.
Yeah, it's totally a knot that is now all tied up in terms of, I think originally they wanted Photos to be in Google Plus as a way to drive use of Google Plus, but now they're realizing that not everybody wants to put their photos on Google Plus, and I don't know, it's a mess. So hopefully they clean it up by Google I/O and explain how they've cleaned it up.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm now that you say that, Liam, I'm pretty positive that would be a part of this. It would have to be. Like, it makes perfect sense. It's not like an underlying piece of the OS at this, as other breakout apps have been. So it makes perfect sense that if they're breaking it away from Google Plus as like a tied-in feature to Google Plus, that they would release it in its own updatable way. So yeah, you're right.
So the other leak that's being reported is that Google's readying to unveil a family-friendly component to the Play Store. The Design for Families program is prompting developers to submit their apps for a new section with the deadline of May 28th, which is the first day of I/O. We'll probably hear more about this on the keynote. But given the movement of creating a kids-friendly app for YouTube, which we're going to hear about next, I'm not surprised to hear that they're doing. And given with multiple users and the idea of being able to switch between I'm using my tablet and I hand it to my child and give it to under their user. I totally believe and would not be surprised to see, especially given that we've seen this deadline of May 28th. This is less of a rumor, more of a leak and a lock, if you ask me. So,
yeah, I mean it's a lock that there's going to be something family based. It looks like the guess is how does this tie into the Play Store? And yeah, it makes perfect sense. They've kind of been moving in this direction for a little while, as was evidenced by the YouTube Kids app, which unfortunately in the world of sad trombone, Google kind of finds itself in hey, wow. What do you know? There it is. Uncomfortable situation. The Campaign for a Commercial-Free Childhood and the Center for Digital Democracy have both submitted a letter to the FTC. They're criticizing Google for this app, for the YouTube Kids app. The groups note that the content on there is regular. Or they found many examples of not suitable for children content inside the app. And they actually recorded a video that kind of compiled the stuff that they found. It included sexual content, drug use, tasting battery acid. There was a beer commercial. And I mean, I watched the thing before. We don't have to play it now, but it was kind of like, as a parent, I believe the only parent here on the panel, I wouldn't want my kid watching some of that stuff, particularly if, as a parent, you believe Google when they say that they're cultivating an app kind of experience that is tailored for kids and protected from that kind of stuff. A Google spokesperson said, "We work to make the videos in YouTube Kids as family-friendly as possible and take feedback very seriously." Google also said that while they work hard to remove the inappropriate content, it is nearly impossible to have 100% accuracy. And I suppose that's the risk in doing something like this, right? When Google puts their draws the line in the sand and says, we are now going to make this thing and we're going to protect your kids from inappropriate content on YouTube by giving you this app, then they are kind of making a promise that will be upheld. Whether they say it's possible 100% or not, parents almost have to believe that it will be in order to allow their kids, to buy into that vision. And it puts Google into a kind of a difficult place, an impossible place. Apparently, if they can't reach 100% accuracy, then that's an impossible place for them, and they will continue to experience this unless they have some sort of, more fine-tuned manual controls over it, along with the algorithm. Which, from my understanding, it's a combination of both. But yet, still, some things are getting through. I don't know.
Well, it's a trust thing. I mean, parents especially want to believe what they're being told, that this is a safe harbor for their kids to, watch videos and to use stuff in. And the moment that they see drug use or sexual content or something like that, they'll lose trust in the app and won't use it. And that's what, so that's what's going to happen. That's the risk here. So I think in this particular case, they need to probably dial down the algorithm and dial up the actual user review aspect of it, and make sure that this stuff, because if you think about it, think of all the content on YouTube. How do you filter that out for what's family appropriate or not? And what's kid appropriate or not? That's a massive amount of data to go through, and you can't trust an algorithm to catch beer guzzling bikini girls or something like that. Like maybe for some reason it gets through. I don't know how that algorithm would work even.
I don't know either. Yeah. I mean, it has to have a human touch. I don't know, Liam. What do you think? I mean, people in the chat room are basically saying, in the world of computers, there is no such thing as 100%. I agree with that. Is this a promise that Google should not have made? Like, is this a territory that maybe it was irresponsible for them to enter because it's just kind of an impossible expectation to have?
I have to say I'm not totally 100% surprised, because Google does seem to like to rely on algorithms a lot. They obviously aren't 100% perfect, and especially something like filtering YouTube down to kid-friendly content is kind of like trying to pull specific drops out of the ocean, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's something that they perhaps could have kept away from the public for a little longer before they figured out the accuracy. But of course, anytime you launch something like this to millions of users, that's when you find the problems, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
A certain amount of that can't really be avoided. But hopefully they do try to work to improve it.
Now, I was never a huge fan of Animaniacs personally, so I don't know the focus of that show, other than that it was a cartoon that a lot of people I knew watched, but I just never really watched it. Some people in the chat room are saying that Animaniacs was amazing. The adult jokes made it so much better. And when you watch that video that they submitted, probably some of the worst stuff comes from that. And I was actually amazed. I was trying to figure out if it was like a fan creation that took Animaniacs cartoon and put other stuff over the top of it. I'm not saying that I don't like that, because it would be funny in a different context, I suppose. But it would be interesting if there is curation going on. I'm wondering if they saw that it's Animaniacs and his cartoon and said, okay, we'll just let it through, without actually understanding that the content behind it probably wasn't appropriate. So it's a sticky situation.
I think that's something else that Google is probably going to run up against, is just the fact that what is inappropriate, it can be really subjective. So what somebody considers inappropriate, someone might consider Animaniacs highly inappropriate. But other users might not. So Google's going to have to deal with that as well.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it, is interpretation, right? Anytime you say this is good, this is appropriate, but this is inappropriate, you're making a judgment based on your own values largely, and that might not match somebody else. So, like one of the examples was somebody teaching how to do the Michael Jackson dance. Part of that is like grabbing your crotch and going, hey. And some people would just see that as like the Michael Jackson dance, but other people would see that and, go in a different direction.
Well,
Put
yeah,
up a censored graphic on the TriCaster, for example. Bryan is very offended.
You've gone too far, Jason.
I mean, yeah, that question of what personal taste comes up and what is offensive, what isn't offensive, but and I think there's got to be some leeway within there. I mean, there are things that I remember growing up, there were shows that were on the kids channel or during the kids block of programming that my parents didn't like, and so I wasn't allowed to watch them. So it's kind of up to the parents to monitor what their kids are doing. You can never you can never walk away from your kids and leave them unattended and let them watch whatever they want. I mean, they've got to be involved in some capacity too. So.
Yep. And I think there are definitely parents out there that would see an app like this and just be like, oh, well, then this is all I need to do. Here, you've got the app. My job is done here. Leave the room, But I think you're right. You still absolutely need to be tuned in if that's important to you, especially,
Absolutely.
Cool.
So in other news, back over to virtual reality news where parents don't care what happens. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure parents care what happens.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see.
But some interesting moves by Google behind the scenes when it comes to their Cardboard program. We speculated about what role VR is going to play within Google and how important is virtual reality. Well, the Google Search lead designer, John Wiley, has now become the lead designer for Google Cardboard. And so given the importance of that search vertical and what John Wiley's done on the search team, the fact that he's being moved over to the Cardboard team can lead one to believe that Google's pretty invested in what VR is going to be and try to take it to the next level. So it should be interesting to see what this move internally does as they ramp up the Cardboard program and ramp up their VR offerings.
Liam, do you think if the lead designer from Search is being brought over to kind of head up the design for VR at Google, is this more about UI, like UI inside the experience? What do you think this is? And are you like all in on the VR thing at this point?
I'm not all in yet. I would love to be, but I'm not. But I do like Google's approach because it seems like they're taking an approach of, with helping manufacturers with specs and calibration and everything, promoting as many companies and people participating as possible to get it off the ground faster. So I think that John Wiley moving to VR is significant. I don't know if it's so much about the UI inside of specific VR applications or if it's more about structuring more overall how Cardboard is going to look and work and how information is going to be displayed. But I do think it's a significant move, but it's hard to say just yet which side of that, if it's only one side that they're bringing him over for.
It certainly illustrates how serious Google is taking Cardboard or VR, whatever it happens to be. It's possible at I/O we're going to find out a little bit more about their efforts in the world of VR because they've definitely been, there have been job postings that have surfaced and everything kind of pointing to the fact that Google is taking VR into serious consideration as another big effort in the world of Android. Who knows, maybe that's going to be the next the next kind of thing to sit next to Auto and Home and all the other ones. Although, is Home still a thing? Is Android Home still a thing?
That's a good question. I don't know.
It's been on like the very furthest back burner for a long time. I think it might be moving up a little bit soon. But
yeah. And I guess this question might be, well, it would definitely fall into your expertise, Liam. Do you see the material design as an aesthetic working in the world of VR at all? Possibly, I suppose, in the UI aspect of things, but
I think in some vague sense, yes, because Google wants to really focus on making interfaces that behave as predictably as physical objects, right? So VR, that should be the case, obviously, and really needs to be fine-tuned. So I think that part of the philosophy will carry over. As for how much virtual paper we might see shuffling around, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, right.
But it'll be part of it.
Yeah, maybe their VR effort involves something akin to holodeck in the sense that the UI is like you can interact with it in the same way as holodeck, like so essentially turning material design into something that's actually material right? Like
Right.
in a three-dimensional sense, that would be actually really cool. So, I mean, we're talking about material design right now. Obviously, we've kind of naturally moved into it. Liam, were you part of the design team for Nova Launcher 4, or are you the design team for Nova Launcher 4? And how was your experience kind of taking such a popular launcher, replacement launcher, one of the most popular ones, and kind of bringing it into the material design world?
So I guess I would say I was the design team, but I worked, obviously very closely with Kevin, the developer, every single day, and he had a lot of good input. And the great thing is that he, Nova has a good community of users. There's a private alpha group that's super helpful. There's a big beta group that's also really helpful. And I feel like Kevin is really in tune with both of those groups and the users in general, what their expectations are, the kinds of things that they're looking for. So, I would come in with a design and he'd be able to give me feedback about why, like, this will work, this won't work, kind of things to tweak and whatnot. But yeah, I feel like it went really smoothly. We launched. It's always a nerve-wracking process, especially for something like Nova, to launch such a major redesign. So we redesigned the widget drawer. We added gestures in the app drawer. Tons of things have changed, but it seems to have gotten a good reception so far, which is great.
Yeah. Would you kind of consider designing for material design? Just is it a niche at this point, or is it a necessity for people developing for Android? Would you say?
I would say at this point that it's probably a necessity because this thing is happening, and it's been happening sort of since Hollow, but really especially now with material design. I feel like design has become a selling point on the Android platform. I feel like good design is becoming the baseline of expectation with users, which is awesome. I think that's great as a designer, obviously, but it's just good to see good design being recognized by users. So yeah, I do think that to an extent it is the baseline.
Now, in terms of that, if it becomes the baseline and you're taking something that's existed and kind of merging the design of an application that's pre-existing and making it material, is that limiting when you approach it from a design standpoint, or is it does it make the design process a little easier because you have this set of guidelines to work from? I mean, is there maneuverability to be original in your designs?
Yeah, I think I wrote a while ago about branding and material design, and one of the big points there was just that the guidelines are more of a playbook than a rule book. So you look at them and they're good for certain quick decisions and heuristics about how to approach certain design problems, but they aren't prescriptive. Like if two apps use material design and they come out looking exactly the same, that's not material design's fault, right? So that would be the designer's fault. So you just have to consider every app, and I think there's a lot of room for making it your own and adapting it to your needs. So in Nova, for example, we have the icon layout screen, which has has the toolbar and a sheet to edit your options, and then there's a window into the desktop. So there's nothing in material design says that you're allowed to peek through the interface to the home screen, but that's what works for the design, and I think that it works as a design. So yeah, I think there's plenty of maneuverability.
Yeah, I think that was the big question when we first heard about material design last year, which was, if there are guidelines and everybody conforms to those guidelines, are all, apps of a particular type going to look the same? And I have seen actually a lot of apps that could be, for all intents and purposes, they could be completely interchangeable. They just have different text, in those particular areas and stuff.
Right.
But it's also been very interesting to see how bigger brands take the material design spec and respect it, but also still kind of maintain their brand, kind of their brand image, as
Right.
well, and differentiate themselves in that regard. And then you end up with this kind of evolved design that feels at home, but still feels like its own entity. And I personally, I'm pretty sure you agree with me, because you do a lot of design in this world. But I really do feel, and some people in chat room don't agree with this, but I do feel like it's heightened the kind of design maturity, or I don't know what the word is, but I feel like apps more often than I've ever seen are looking and feeling like design was really taken seriously, and not that I just had a great idea for an app, but I had a great idea for an app, and I had a great starting point on how to make it look good and familiar. So that when people pick it up, they kind of understand the flow and understand how it works because they followed those rules.
Yeah, and I think going back to the guidelines, I mean, there are parts, so, using system fonts and following certain paradigms to make things predictable, that's part of making it appealing to users. But yeah, like I said, design is becoming a selling point, and it's really cool to see that big companies or big apps not only adopting material design and kind of refreshing their interfaces, but also advocating for it. So you're seeing articles from like Feedly and Trello writing about their experience with transitioning to material and how it helped them and why it's good for users.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Let's see here. What was one question I had? Has Google done a good job making material design achievable for pre-Lollipop OS? Like, I know there's apps have been released that adhere completely to material design if you're running Lollipop and have some material design aesthetics on pre-Lollipop devices. But just as an example, there's a library that I discovered on Reddit by Ray Pham. It's called Material Library. It's an open source library that Ray created that facilitates specifically duplicating kind of some of these more advanced material design touches on pre-Lollipop devices. Has Google gone far enough in providing these kinds of tools, or do you think they could do better as far as that's concerned?
I definitely do think that they could do better. It's kind of up to developers right now on how to degrade gracefully as you go backward through the platforms. Certain things like having the nav drawer go under the status bar or floating action buttons, things like that. Google doesn't seem to have provided tools that are accessible enough for developers. AppCompat goes a long way. It does help with a lot of stuff, but fortunately, on the other side of that, there's a community who's willing to make libraries like this to help other developers, fill in the holes that Google has left so far.
Yeah, and I mean, mind you, I'm not a developer, but just looking through the material library, I was actually pretty impressed. I was like, wow, that's awesome. An open source library. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff in there that developers can pull from and use and benefit from. Profit, as they say. So very cool stuff. But awesome work with Nova Launcher 4. You've also done Today Calendar, and you've been involved with that since its release, right?
So the redesign that I came in for launched in beta in September, and I've been involved since then. So
awesome stuff.
But I've also got the all-cast redesign, which is in beta right now. So I think that'll be going stable soon, and a couple of other things. Feed Me, which is Jack's new app, the developer of Today Calendar, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I've got a couple of other projects. Me and Franco are working on something pretty cool.
Francisco
Yes.
Franco.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Cool. Well, that's awesome, man. It's so cool that you kind of have this aspect of Android that people are turning to you to help them design their apps in this regard. That's awesome that you've been able to do that, and you're the right guy for the job. You know this stuff about as well as good as anyone. So, great work. So everyone should check out Nova Launcher 4, check out Today Calendar, and all these other apps that we've been talking about here, and you'll see for yourself just why Liam's awesome. And sorry to make you feel uncomfortable there, Leo. Let's take a break quickly here. We have to thank our first sponsor, and actually it's Lynda. I love lynda.com. It's for problem solvers, for people who are curious, who want to learn, pretty much just how to make things happen. If you want to create an Android app, you want to kind of become a better designer. If you want to get into all this design stuff and you like what we're talking about here with, material design and designing for Android and everything, Lynda has you covered. They have all sorts of courses on all of these topics. Has everything you need to feed your minds. Some of the new lynda.com courses that you can check out: Unity 5 2D Essential Training. There's Agile at Work, planning with Agile user stories, creating a responsive homepage marquee. We've talked about Code Clinic on the show before. That's a multi-course series where lynda.com experts look at common code challenges and offer their solutions using C++, C#, Java, PHP, Python, Ruby. Lynda.com has also just added 4 new entries covering JavaScript, C, R, and Swift. And I mean, I've talked great length about the audio courses that I've watched and taken, and those are just super inspiring to me as a musician. You can find a ton on design and working with all sorts of different design tools. Basically, Lynda's all over it when a new big piece of software like Photoshop or After Effects or whatever it may be releases a new version. They're right there producing new content for it, and you can learn from the experts in the field who are passionate about teaching those subjects. You can stream thousands of video courses. It's all on demand. So basically, you can learn on your own schedule. Courses are structured so you can watch them from start to finish, or if you want, you can check them out in bite-sized pieces. You can browse each course transcript. The transcripts are super cool because you can dive right in there, find a particular point, click on that point. It's going to take you to that part of the video directly. I can't even imagine how much work must go into creating these videos because that is so granular, but it's magical because it takes you right to where exactly where you want to go, and you can pick up learning from there. They also have tutorials that you can watch on the go. That's including access on your Android or iOS device. And finally, you can create and save playlists of courses that you want to watch so you can customize your learning path, share with friends, share with your colleagues and your team members. Very cool stuff. Your lynda.com membership gives you unlimited access to training on hundreds of topics, all for one flat rate. Whether you're looking to become an expert, you're passionate about a hobby, or you just want to learn something new, I want you to visit lynda.com/allaboutandroid, and you can sign up for your free 10-day trial to check it out for yourself. It's all you can eat for 10 days. So you can watch everything. Well, maybe not everything, because I don't know if there's enough hours in 10 days to watch every single thing that they've recorded, but you could try. And you could fill all of those 10 days with as many videos as you could watch. That's lynda.com/allaboutandroid. And we thank Lynda for their continuing support of All About Android and the Twit network. Thank you. All right. Let's take a look at some hardware. Let's see here. So yesterday, I suddenly saw everybody on the Twitter kind of watching the announcement of the ASUS ZenFone 2 saying, wow, those ASUS guys went really into the hardcore specs and details and benchmarks and everything like that. Maybe they went a little overboard as far as that was concerned from what I read from some people. I did not watch the presentation, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. ASUS partnered with Intel for this new device, and just a brief look at some of the broad specs here. 5.5-inch LCD display. It's a 1920 by 1080 display. There are 2 versions. There's a quad-core 1.8 gigahertz or a 2.3 gigahertz Z3580 Atom processor. The 1.8 gigahertz comes with 2 gigs of RAM. The other with 4 gigs of RAM, 13 megapixel rear-facing camera. There's 16 and 64 gig storage options, micro SD card slot. There's a dual SIM in there, and some color options: black, white, red, gray, and gold. You can get it for $199 and $299 respectively in the U.S. So
let's not miss the most important thing. What is that on stage with them?
That's. I guess everybody's got to have a mascot. I don't.
Is that the Zen Scott? Like, what is that?
I think its name is Zenny.
Zenny.
It's an owl, I believe.
It's an owl. Why? Oh, that's great. I love it.
It's a charging owl. Okay. Everybody has to have a mascot, apparently. Okay. It's okay. Okay. Return of the. Okay. Bryan didn't like this. I thought it was nice.
I don't know. I mean, he's plenty cute, but I don't know what an owl mascot has to do with a phone.
I don't know either. You make a good point.
You got to have something to take the selfie with, as you're demoing the camera, the front facing, and who better than with a live in-person mascot to come out on stage and join us.
See, I'm just waiting until, Apple comes out with a giant Apple mascot and there's an Android mascot, and then they all just kind of fight each other maybe on stage. I'd be down for that.
any opportunity to put a person in a life-size costume and parade them out, I think the technology industry could use more of this, actually. I think ASUS is a thought leader in this. Clearly, the ZenFone was enough of a moment in time that they needed to unveil their mascot, Zenny, the owl.
Bryan, I like where you're going with this. I think what we're leading to is a day where there will be like a Street Fighter 2 game that we can play, where we can pit all of the the phone mascots against each other.
Yeah, like some sort of Mortal Kombat, like an app or something. They just all fight each other.
This has to happen.
Watch the android pull out the still beating heart of the owl or something,
or the core from the apple.
Yeah.
The core comes out, the apple falls out.
I put a link in our back chat of with some more photos of Zenny the owl.
Yeah.
And this is just unbelievable. I just can't.
Zenny. So I kind of like Zenny.
I mean, he's pretty cute looking. I mean, as far as mascots go.
Yeah, if you scroll down, they've got some interesting logos that incorporate his design for the ZenFone. I mean, honestly, if you take ASUS, which is a company that I know it's hard to believe, a company that has got a lot of products recently, but I wouldn't say they've got a ton of brand recognition, or customer, people are like, oh, you got that new ASUS, you don't hear that often. Maybe Zenny is what they need to take them into the future. I mean, like,
I don't know. We spent most of this section talking about the mascot though, and not the phone.
Sorry,
no, but I mean, I think maybe that's indicative of something, perhaps.
Well, the phone looks nice. I mean, the color, those colors look nice. I was looking at that red and blue phone. I'd rock that. I don't know. Seems like a decent enough phone. I like ASUS. I'm an ASUS fan.
I was going to say, ASUS. I've been saying ASUS lately. Man, they had a lot of mojo a couple of years ago. Maybe not necessarily with everyone in the world, not like Samsung style recognition, but I feel like in the kind of core Android community there for a while, ASUS was like, oh man, they can do no wrong. And I feel like that's kind of tapered a little bit in the last couple of years. And that probably a big part of that was the fact that the Nexus 7 was such a big success, at least for the Android faithful. And ASUS made that tablet. So I don't know.
I mean, let's not forget that this is the company that made the tablet that could switch between. Aren't they the ones that made the tablet that could switch between Android and Windows that never came to light?
Oh,
and like
the transformer, right?
And the transformer
and
that had the phone that went into the tablet.
And not only the pad phone, but also the phone pad.
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
So we don't want to leave one out there.
There's someone at ASUS or ASUS or whatever who's just off his rocker and hasn't been fired yet, and they just let him keep coming up with these ideas, and I that's why I kind of like them. They're a little wacky. So,
yeah, I agree with that.
All right.
I'm still waiting for the smartwatch that can plug into the phone, that can plug into the tablet, that has a keyboard attachment.
What would they call that? The pad phone watch. The WatchPadFone.
WatchPadFone. Yeah.
And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You're going to be like, oh, ASUS, of course you did that.
Well, what I like even more about Zenny is that you take the origin of the word Zen, which has got Buddhist implications and this idea of calm and whatever, and like how do we physically manifest Zen? Oh, well, it's an owl with a lightning bolt on its chest. Oh, wow.
Well,
I like it. Anyway,
good work on the mascot. We'll see about the phone. It did release today, actually, and I think it's been getting pretty favorable reviews because some folks have had it for at least the last week. Did Android Police get a unit? Do you know, Liam?
We're getting one this week, I believe.
Awesome. Cool. So check with Android Police. I know Android Central, I believe they had a review up, and yeah, looks like an all right, kind of a lower cost phone, but
just
good
saying.
stuff.
The future of those product announcements, mascots.
Yeah.
Bryan
as long as it's not Broadway musicals, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Well, we already have the Android. It'll be great. Anyway.
Yeah.
So a couple of months ago, we were all predicting the death of Google Glass, and that after the program was moved out of the Explorer program was shut down, and what's the future of Google? Well, it looks like it's ramping back up as the Google Glass team at Google is hiring. Google's posted numerous job postings related to smart eyewear and other related products in line with Google's ambitious and visionary objectives.
Their words.
Their words, yes. That's a quote from their thing. And Nest Labs CEO Tony Fadell, who now oversees Google Glass, told the Financial Times, "We've decided to go and look at every detail, have no sacred cows, and figure out the way forward. I have a really engaged team. They're really excited about the future and expect more things to come soon." So they're from Tony Fadell telling you that more things to come with Google Glass. So it is not dead. I don't think we'll see anything at I/O based on this, because it sounds like it's really kind of early. But it looks like they're not abandoning the idea of a wearable in a eyewear format.
Yeah. So Liam, man, if memory serves, you have Glass, right?
Yes, I do.
Do you still use imbibe in Glass from time to time?
Imbibe.
I definitely do not use it as often as I once did.
Yeah.
I kind of feel bad for Google here because I feel like they're it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So they were taking like the super public approach of, public basically alpha testing for this hardware. Got a lot of criticism. It was not received well. Mm-hmm. So they ended the Explorer program and decided to switch gears to more of a secretive, it'll be ready when it's ready kind of approach. But of course that triggers people saying that the program is dead entirely. So
right.
It's good to have like some official press out there that it's still alive and that they're still working on it.
Yeah, they kind of need a little bit of that press so that it can reassure people. Although I guess if they're really working on something, it probably shouldn't matter whether people declare it dead or not, because then Google ends up having the last laugh when they go, "See, here it is. I told you."
But also when you've got Fadell saying things like, we're looking at every detail. There are no sacred cows. We're going to figure out a way forward. It sounds like it sounds completely stalled and they're starting from the bottom up.
Yeah, they're willing to make the cuts that they realize. They're willing to have that conversation with themselves and say, okay, we may have thought this was pretty cool, but obviously this didn't go very well in these ways. Let's peel it back and change whatever we need to.
Yeah.
I don't rule out hearing something about this at I/O. I'm not sure that we're going to see like, here's our next prototype of Google Glass, but I do think that Google's been setting the groundwork for something along these lines, and they've been hinting about new types of wearables. So part of what you're seeing here has to do with Google Glass. It also says other related products in line, with those objectives. Wear has the ability to connect to multiple devices now. The ATAP group has an event on Friday morning at Google I/O where they have said they're going to be showing off some new types of wearables that they're working on. So there's something going on here. I suppose how that relates to Glass specifically as we know it, maybe we aren't going to hear a whole lot about that, but we're going to hear a lot about related products for sure at I/O. I suppose that's one of my predictions. But I'll hold on to that.
I don't agree, but we can argue about it next week.
Okay.
So.
Ooh. Interesting. Let's see here. Oh, hey, what do you say we jump into the other hardware? We need I'm going to keep mounting things that we need other people to create for us. We need a remix of that song for the next one. So it's
that's a good idea.
the one and then the next one ramps it up and it's all distorted or something. I don't know.
A little more like dubsteppy, a little more energetic. Yeah.
Maybe not dubsteppy, actually. I think I jumped through that window over there. Let's see here. Okay, so I don't know if it's Wear 5.1 or if it's Wear 5.1.1, but Google officially said that rollout of the next Wear update is underway. Android Central says 5.1.1. Oh, they said that shipped with the Urbane, which is true. So I would imagine the update that's pushing out to everyone is 5.1.1. But Google's post specifically, if I remember correctly, didn't say exactly. But regardless, if you have a Wear device, you're going to be getting an update here very soon. Some very cool features included in there. The always-on screen, always-on apps options. So for instance, you could pull up an app and keep it pinned and just have it always on your screen. It wouldn't go away. It wouldn't time out. Launcher and wrist gestures, which I had an experience the other day where Like I thought this whole wrist gestures to flip through your cards was the lamest thing in the world. I can't do it because I don't have the update here. But was the lamest like thing in the world. I was like, who's ever going to need to do that? And then the other day I found myself in a situation where I totally would have benefited. I was like, I want to, man, it would be cool if I had that thing. That would actually be awesome. Emoji drawing. I don't know if I'll ever use that, but some people will. Heads up notifications, support for multiple wearables, which we were just talking about, font size adjustments, lock screen. So if you want to lock up your watch when it's removed from your wrist, you can. And then, of course, Wi-Fi support. That's not for all Wear devices. The Urbane, the Moto 360, Sony Smartwatch 3, and the Samsung Gear Live are the 4 that they've announced that will include that Wi-Fi support. So that's going to be coming the next couple of days.
So I just checked my watch, and I don't have the update, and it's still running version 5.0.2. So it sounds like 5.1.1 makes sense in terms of a versioning, at least to keep it in step with the phone's OS.
Yeah.
So I'll be keeping an eye out on that for sure. But
I think these are good updates. What do you think, Liam? What watch are you, or are you even wearing a watch? I imagine if you were wearing a glass, you've got to be wearing a watch at this point, a wear device.
I am not wearing one at the moment, but the one that I usually wear is Moto 360.
Okay.
I haven't picked up the Urbane or any of the new ones just because I am finding it hard to justify buying another watch right now until kind of the next generation comes out.
Fair enough.
And I just don't consider smartwatches really a must-have thing right now. I've been thinking for a while, I want to try to post about smartwatch user experience, and what the best practices might emerge to be, but I realize that literally no one knows yet, and I don't think anybody's figured it out.
So early on at this point.
Yeah.
Right. I do feel somewhat like naked when I don't have my watch on, though. That I felt that way for a while. When I leave and I accidentally leave my watch on the charger, I actually have the thought of, do I go back and get it? Just because having that notification buzz on my wrist, for some reason, I've gotten very used to that. And that just being a cue to be like, okay, I can continue on, or, oh, hey, actually.
That's the key thing for wearables now is that like I don't feel that way. I leave the house without the watch and I don't notice it. I don't miss it. When I remember to put it on, it feels foreign and weird on my wrist, and I haven't gotten used to it yet. But it's gotta reach that point where it feels indispensable, where you can't get through the day without it, like we are with our phones. And that's that's why it's so early, because I don't think it's even seeing the reviews of the Apple Watch and now that everyone's catching up and pretty much both Android and iOS users have a watch option, everyone's kind of like, yeah, it's a neat thing, but I don't need it.
Right.
Right. Very interesting. But we like to see the updates coming, and with the release of the LG Urbane, we're seeing even more updates get reach the real world. First up, Google Maps for Wear brings maps to the tiny screen, and you can zoom in and out with zoom in and out buttons, a compass, and nearby places. So that makes Google Maps a little more functional on the watch. And additionally, one thing that I've been waiting for is that Google Play Music, you can now browse your library from your watch, not just control, play, pause, and that sort of thing. So it's nice to see that you can actually browse and control your library from the watch itself. And something that I've been wondering about for a while is that whether or not apps would ever interface with a watch face. Because it seems to make sense to have a functional app giving you information with your watch face. Well, Google Fit seems to be the first app to do that, as Google Fit gets an update. And they've been doing a lot of updates to the Google Fit application in general. I've noticed the app on my phone and on the web and all that stuff has been updating. But so now we get the Google Fit update on Android Wear, and that has a interactive Fit watch face that goes along with it, which is pretty neat.
I'm wearing the Fit watch face right now, actually.
Look at that.
It's kind of hard for me to...
Oh, you can see right there, that little red circle. Yeah. It goes away.
Hey, look at that. My red circle is almost complete. Yeah, I know.
The red circle is almost complete.
I don't know if I'm going to keep this because it's not a bad watch face, actually. I think I've been using the Pascal watch face on the Moto 360 forever. And I think that, interestingly, that was... there was right when it was releasing, a watch face design contest that Motorola held, and that was the winner, and it's totally my favorite of the stock ones that shipped with it. But this is a nice watch face. I just don't know if I really keep myself too tuned into the Google Fit stuff, but I suppose it's nice to know.
I try. I don't know. It's hard for me to keep up with all that stuff. But I think the idea, like, I would love a Google Play Music watch face.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
That would change the background of the watch to be whatever album I'm listening to or whatever, and have that.
Nice.
Like I feel like these are ways that you can make that wearable more interesting, because if you plug them into your daily use in the daily apps you're using, like maybe there could be a Twitter watch face, and the kind of various whatever app you're plugged into and using, give me a watch face that gives me information as well as the time. So
what is it? It's like this strange ghosting
Sorry
thing
about
happening.
that. Yeah, the TriCaster is freaking out a little bit. I think I didn't pull the T-bar all the way down, so it was being a little
so when
weird.
you switch, okay.
I was like, why am I seeing myself? Sorry, Ron. Sorry to take away
I
from the show.
feel like I was having flashbacks or something.
I do have one question, though, guys.
What?
I'm a regular Moto 360 wearer, but if I have like any other watch face, or if I'm using my watch for like navigation or anything like that, it kills my battery. Like I will get maybe 7-8 hours tops out of it. Do you guys notice any of that with your watches? Or
I noticed it the other day when I was navigating a lot. We went to San Francisco for the day and then came back. And I mean, my watch was definitely dead by the time we got back. And that hardly ever happens. I always make it to the end of the day. But yeah, when I'm navigating, it kind of hits it hard, it seems, which I don't understand why that is.
I don't know either. I mean, I had to get through the Beta Breakers stuff to get to the city for Maker Faire.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't even start using navigation stuff till I got in the city, and it was probably dead by, I think I got to the city at 11, and it was dead by like 6 or 7 that day.
Wow, yeah.
And I mean, I use one custom watch face, and it seems to kind of kill the battery maybe a little bit quicker than the stock ones do.
I wonder why a custom watch face would kill the battery, though.
The only thing
what is happening on it?
The only thing I can think of with my watch face is that it might be pulling. It shows me the battery of my phone.
Okay.
And it's pulling weather, so maybe that. But
okay.
I mean, that shouldn't be hitting the like the query that much. Or
yeah,
whatever.
Right.
That's ironic, is that the showing your battery life on your phone is draining the battery life on your watch.
Right?
See, I'm killing your battery really fast. See?
I don't know.
See how I'm killing your battery?
I'm probably going to actually send it in soon because I have a really bad cracked back on my Moto 360.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
So, and it cracked before. I replaced it with the metal band, and it cracked with the leather band. And it seems to have stopped with the metal one, but my warranty is up in September, so I'm sending it in after that, and we'll see.
What do we think, just real quick, since we're talking about the Moto 360? Are we going to see a refreshed Moto 360 in a week? Is this like top of the list possible, going to be announced at I.O. or unveiled or shown or something like that? I feel like it's kind of in the works right now. We're hearing little leaky things about it lately, but
I'll give that one a maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'll say maybe too. I mean, we saw the briefcase of possible Moto 362 pieces, right? But as for an I.O. announcement, I don't think we've seen anything that would exactly prove that yet.
The briefcase makes it sound so shady. Hey, you want to see the next Moto 360? I've got it here in my briefcase.
I've got a million individual components here.
It's one of these. All right, cool stuff. Let's take another break. Thank another sponsor, LegalZoom, and I love LegalZoom. I've been using LegalZoom personally for years. And if you consider yourself the next, world famous entrepreneur, or you don't care about fame, you just want to help people, whatever your motivation, if you're an innovator, it's easy to launch your dream this month with LegalZoom. You can incorporate or form an LLC to start your business. You can register your trademark to protect your products and services. You can apply for a patent to secure your invention. Over the past decade, LegalZoom has helped more than 1 million people just like you turn your ideas into reality. So what's special about this month? Well, for a limited time, you can get special savings on any trademark, copyright, or provisional patent application. Just go to LegalZoom.com today to get started on that. They can even help you if you have a great idea, but you're not sure where to begin. Since they're not a law firm, you can actually get advice from LegalZoom's network of independent attorneys in most states. That means you can get the guidance you need to get your great idea off the ground. Legal help is here. That's LegalZoom. They can help you out with that. Make the smart choice for your business at LegalZoom.com today. And this is the important part. Don't forget to enter AAA in the referral box at checkout this month for your special discount. That also tells them that you heard about LegalZoom through All About Android. And hey, that makes us happy here at All About Android. That's LegalZoom.com. Make sure to use the promo code AAA. It's easy to remember, and you'll get your special discount. We thank LegalZoom for their continued support of All About Android and the Twit network. Awesome stuff. All right. We have a pretty cool apps section, I have to say.
I think we have to give Microsoft credit for giving us a little more to talk about in the apps than just the Google apps. They're giving Google a run for their money.
Yeah, well, Microsoft's coming kind of fast and hard with all of these apps for Android lately, and we've talked about it a little bit here and there this last week. You know, let's just say that Instagram wasn't very nice when they launched their Hyperlapse app for iOS, and then said, well, you know, we can't do it on Android. There's hardware limitations. We're not bringing it to Android right now, and apparently, if ever. Well, Microsoft went ahead and just did it then. So they just took it into their own hands. So this is just the app interface, and Hyperlapse, like creating a Hyperlapse is going to be very boring if I'm just sitting here, because what Hyperlapse is it's actually an image stabilization. I'll just do it so you can see the interface. But and what I really like about the interface actually is down below, you see this thing right there. That's the that tells you how long the ending video would be if played back at 4 times speed. So what Hyperlapse is doing, and I don't understand exactly the technical stuff behind it, but it analyzes each frame and it basically stabilizes the recorded video. So you're not going to see the stabilization taking effect right now in the live video. But if I was walking around, and actually I put a link in the doc that I recorded today when I went to get my lunch, and walking down the sidewalk, I believe I set that at 4 times the speed. But what it does is it analyzes the path and it just kind of smooths things out. This video, I guarantee you, and I was watching as I was recording it, was super bumpy because I was walking. You know, I was walking the whole way, so it was kind of bouncing up and down with every step. And you know, through the app, you're able to kind of smooth out. Now, when I'm done, it's gonna kind of prepare it, and then it'll give me a little control here, and it gives you a preview. Now, like I said, what we're watching is probably not the best example. In fact, it is not. But, you know, it's worth checking out. And Microsoft is bringing, you know, this is a beta right now. So you can't necessarily go onto the Play Store and find it immediately. You have to add their community in Google+, and then become a tester. And the instructions are there. Just search for the Microsoft Hyperlapse community in Google+. Sign up, become a tester, and then you can download the app after kind of waiting for that to clear. And you can begin to play around with it. And it's actually really cool. I've recorded a lot of really cool videos. Kind of, you know, I mounted it in my car dock and drove around and recorded. Some people, done some really cool things. Some people see these videos and they're like, what? You're just speeding up a video. And the reality is you're speeding it up, yes, but there's a lot of the stabilization and image kind of analysis that's going on. So it's eliminating redundant frames. Have you ever seen an Auto Awesome movie where the background is totally still, but the foreground is like jumping around? And that's Google's kind of algorithm to stabilize everything and saying the background is the important part. So we're going to stabilize that, and everything that's close to you is going to shift around based on your perspective. That's a lot of what Hyperlapse is doing here. So for things that are kind of medium to far distance away from the camera, it actually looks really cool.
Yeah, I just signed up for the community and to become a tester. I put the link to the community in the chat room there, Brian, if you want to show it to everybody. But this is super neat. I mean, and it shows that it's possible, that it can be done. You know, not necessarily like where Instagram was saying where it can't be. I mean, like, and I like that Microsoft is playing with it and trying to figure this stuff out. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I can't seem to install the app, but I'm trying. But if I can, I will do it. I will take some Hyperlapse at the baseball game tonight. So
I was like, nice. What was that audio? I don't think it records audio, but this was probably edited with audio after the fact.
Yeah, this is me just playing music over it.
Oh,
I saw
or that.
Yeah, I saw Logan had made a joke about Benny Hill music. I was like, yep, that's kind of what this reminds me of.
Kind of is.
That said, I got unrelated to hyperlapse. I love the signing up for a community and becoming a tester and the whole beta program and all that sort of stuff. But the one failing of it to me is the gap of time between when you sign up for a community and then sign up to become a tester and when you can actually access the app in the Google Play Store.
You never really know what you're going to get. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, exactly. And like right now, I'm in the the requested URL is not found on the server to download the app. But it's like, I know it's there. I signed up for this.
You can't have it right now, Ron.
I know.
You're going to sit in that chair and you're going to finish this show before you play with hyperlapse, okay?
Well, that's because they don't want me to play with hyperlapse. They want me to play with Excel.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, that's going to be fun.
It really is. It really, really is. Excel is where it's at. No, but Microsoft unveiled today the new standalone versions of its Office apps for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Once again, you have to join the Google Plus community and opt in to become a tester, and then you can install them from the links presented there to test them out while they're in beta once you get accepted and the appropriate time happens on the server. But once again, this is, Microsoft, the new world of Microsoft expanding to make what was once these applications that were sold for hundreds of dollars now are accessible on your phone for free and just a download. And as Microsoft tries to embrace other platforms other than their own Windows platform, Liam, what do you think of what Microsoft has been doing here by embracing Android and reaching out to our world?
I think that Microsoft is going where the users are, right? And I wholeheartedly support that approach because these are pretty neat tools. They're helpful to Android users, and I think it's the right thing to do.
And I believe with the Microsoft Office as a suite has been on Android. I hadn't really played around with it. Now what they're doing is they're basically breaking it out into their own separate apps, and they've kind of redesigned the interface and everything. Kind of has a little bit more of that material design-ish influence. Definitely feels like modern Android when you're using the app. So they've done a good job there as well, kind of taking what is expected on the Android platform right now and kind of merging it with their own brand identity. That's good stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, PowerPoint, like Excel and Word are, the applications that I feel as if Google is really kind of defeated, with Google Docs and Google Sheets and that sort of thing. But PowerPoint, for some reason, still exists and still carries on. And I, even me as a diehard Google user, I still use PowerPoint for presentations. I don't use slides. And so, knowing that PowerPoint is out there in the corporate world and that PowerPoints get sent and left and, sent left and right and that sort of thing, having the PowerPoint app is something that is attractive. When you get that PPT file, you want to be able to open it, and sure, you can import it into Google Docs and that sort of thing. But there's enough people who are still out there that are using these files that it kind of like I'll probably install these apps and throw them on my phone and just have them there just in case. So,
right. Instead of having to use a third-party app to like translate the and render in its own way the Word document or whatever, which is kind of what you've had to do up until now. We might as well get it from Microsoft itself.
Yep.
Guarantee it'll come in handy at some point. And then finally, we'll back to Instagram. I wasn't quite sure the order of these. Maybe I should have done the Office first and then Hyperlapse, but whatever. We're back to Instagram. Obviously, Instagram hasn't always been, the nicest. It hasn't been super happy times for Android users, basically. And Instagram came well after iOS to Android. Instagram still hasn't released its hyperlapse, as we were talking about, for Android. And then last year it launched layout for iOS, not Android. Oh, don't we sound all butthurt? Well, this week Instagram finally released layout for Android, and get this, Ron, it has a new feature that isn't on iOS, and it's called structure. And it highlights texture and detail in photos. So Instagram just gave you one. That's for you, Ron.
They don't hate us. See, they like us. I'm going to download this. I'll use the hell out of this. This is pretty cool. So, I'm installing it right now. So,
yeah, it's pretty cool. The layout app is actually, I have it here. I can launch it here real quick. Layout app allows you to take a number of pictures and just kind of like create, a kind of a collage out of them. Let's see here. I'll just take those three. Choose layout. You got your layouts up at the top. So, and then you can kind of, once you select one, you can play around with kind of the format of it. You can draw it out.
It's doing basically what I use PicFrame to do.
Okay.
Which now you got to wonder. I feel bad for the pick frames of the world because, like, why do you need that? And again, why is this a separate app? Why isn't this just part of Instagram? I don't know.
I don't know. It's useful outside of Instagram.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And then you can flip it, mirror it, and all that kind of stuff. So, very cool stuff. And then, but actually, so how can you get to structure? There's faces. I didn't actually look into the whole structure thing. Just knew that it existed, but I don't know. Anyways, check it out. Apparently, there's a feature that only us Android users can use, and it's called Structure, and I can't find it. But I didn't really try that hard. But
it's pretty cool, though. Let me tell you.
Nice to know that they're they're throwing us a bone. There you go.
All right. Well, we got an email that we want to go over now. Todd wrote in and says, "I know you mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and at the time it had not occurred to me, but it hit me with my Nexus 7 2013 last week. I'm bringing it up again with you guys as it recently made USA Today." And we got the link to the USA Today article. Basically, the USA Today article explains that there is a problem when you try to install Lollipop on the old Nexus 7s. It bricks the devices. Which is very upsetting. That's not part of Todd's email. So back to Todd's email. He says there are many discussions on XDA and others with people trying things. Some strange suggestions that work for some, such as dropping the tablet and massaging the back. Nothing.
I'm pretty sure that's not going to work for everyone. And if it did work for someone, it was probably totally luck. Would be my guess.
How much pressure do you apply to the tablet as you're massaging? That's what I would like to know.
You got to ask, how much do you really want that tablet to survive if you're giving it a massage?
Exactly.
Just, ask yourself that question.
Well, so Todd said, nothing has worked for me, including attempts to unlock and reload an older image. Google and ASUS's response is disappointing, given how large this issue is spread. For me, I am done with Nexus tablets. Difficult to trust it after an experience like this. Fortunately, it was not an expensive device, and my purchase was 2 years ago. This makes for a good excuse to purchase something new. It looks like there's some good tablet options out there and even more interesting ones to be released soon. My question to you is this. What is the best thing to do with a brick device? I never had the chance to wipe it before it went black. That makes me a little uncomfortable just sending it to some electronic recycling site. Any suggestions? So, so two things kind of going on here. One is that absolutely sucks that Google and ASUS aren't being more proactive to support this problem. They're both kind of claiming it's out of warranty, it's an old product, you're kind of SOL, unfortunately. And I have a Nexus 7 2013. I have not updated it to Lollipop because it's sitting with the battery dead in my file drawer because I don't use it because I have the Nexus 9. But what to do with the brick device? I don't know, other than giving it to one of those recycling programs. I mean, yeah, you didn't wipe your data, but if you can't get to it, what makes you think that there was some random person at the recycling place can? If it's bricked, it's bricked, right? I mean, Jason, what do you think?
Well, I think the concern is it might be bricked, but if there's some way to get to the storage underneath, like actually access the hardware storage underneath, someone who's very determined probably still could. Right. So then it's like, okay, well, do I just hand that off and hope that never happens? Which it probably won't, but it could. So there's always kind of that doubt. I don't know. Everybody in the chat room is kind of saying what I was thinking, which is, get a drill or a hammer or something. And I mean, just go to town on it, which I don't know if that's the safest approach. So don't take my word. Don't take it from me that this is what you should do, because it's actually probably very dangerous to do that. Just so that we're clear, I'm sure there are bad things that can happen when you take a hammer to an electrical device like that that has a battery on the inside and all that kind of stuff.
What if you got access to a really big magnet?
Yeah, that is how you can erase drives, is a very, very powerful magnet. I don't know how easy that is, or how do you know that the magnet was big enough to actually erase the data? I don't know. But I mean,
I'm sure that you could probably find a teardown online, right? And if you're really determined, just open it up and attempt to remove the storage, and then take the remains to recycling.
That's a good point too, because the storage itself probably isn't that big actually. And then you could very effectively destroy that storage, or maybe I don't know. Maybe it's possible to extract from it whatever, if there's really valuable stuff stored on there. Maybe there's some way to plug that into something. Honestly, I don't know as far as this device is concerned.
I think we're discounting the low tech solution here, which is Todd didn't say where he's from, but I assume, Todd, you're somewhere that's near outside, and you could put the tablet in a plastic bag and dig a hole in your backyard.
That would work.
That would work, and just bury it.
I know this. I also know of this guy who's become quite internet famous for blending technology. So you could ask yourself, will it blend? And see, if I don't know, it's possible. Put it in a blender, close it up, then you don't have to worry about the toxic elements.
And then you put that in a box and you send it to ASUS and Google. You kind of split it 50-50 and say, thanks, I'm sending it back to you.
You did this. You made me do this, ASUS. Yeah, you could do that. So
I would say he should send it to Twit, and then me and Padre can see what we can do with it. If we're not able to get anything off of it, but then it's on
you to destroy.
Right, and we'll figure out something to do with it. We'll probably blow it up. We have thermite that Padre's really been wanting to use. So
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure we can get our hands on some really effective acid that can eat away at the hardware. I don't know. These guys are brilliant at destroying things.
I'm pretty sure a magnet wouldn't work because SSDs don't.
No.
But
yeah, I thought about that after I said it, but I didn't want to go too far down that rat hole.
Todd, if you trust Bryan,
send it in, please.
Nexus 7. Send it in. You can find the address. Yeah, whatever. It's 140 Keller Street, Petaluma. I can't remember the zip code, but there you go. Send it to the studio. We'll do something with it. I can't
believe that Google sent out an update that just completely, you can't even go back, huh? You can't backtrack or load a different OS or anything?
Well, and particularly if it's bricked, depending on what bricked is. A lot of people say my device is bricked when it's not actually bricked. There's a way into it. So there's bricked in that regard, and then there's this is actually bricked. There's absolutely nothing I can do.
Yeah, I'd be willing to check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, I mean, from reading in the USA Today article and the other posts on Reddit, 9to5 Google and Android Police, stuff like that, this is a bad issue. This is real, it locks at the Google logo, and that you can't perform a complete reset from the recovery mode section. Really the option is that, really is to replace the motherboard, which is just crazy. They can fix it. I mean, ASUS is offering to replace the motherboard and fix it for people, but they're charging people $200 or more to do it
because it's outside of the warranty time.
So more than the worth of the device at that point.
Pretty much.
So then it makes more sense to destroy it than it does to get it fixed.
Which is sad because they have nice screens, and it'd be cool to repurpose it as maybe like a Android car stuff or something like that. But.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I actually have a 2012 Nexus 7 that was dropped by our then 4-year-old. I think she was 4 when she dropped it. The screen is all borked. You can't see anything. So it's not just the glass, it's the underlying screen. It's been on top of our refrigerator since it happened. Because I just don't know what to do with it. I'm it's got, it's all broken into pieces. I don't know what to do with it. How do I get rid of this? But it's the same issue that Todd's talking about. I don't know what to do with it because I don't want to just throw it somewhere and then, hey, have it, whatever happens to be on there. But aside from that, I just don't know. So I suppose I should heed this advice as well and just take a sledgehammer to it.
But a couple of interesting notes, though, is that if you have a Nexus 7 and you haven't updated it to Lollipop, don't, just to be safe. And then also, if you did get one and this happened to you and you bought it from the Play Store, you might be able to get Google to help you out in terms of swapping it out for a new one or whatever, because Google is helping people who did buy it from the Play Store. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's actually really important information. Yeah. Cool.
So there you go.
All right. Don't know if we've helped you, but if you do decide to destroy it, Todd, maybe record it with hyperlapse and then send us the video at 2 or 4 times, and then we'll ooh and ah at it on the show. Let's take a quick break and thank our final sponsor of today's episode, and that's Braintree. It's all about mobile payments, code for easy online payments. If you're building a mobile app and searching for a simple payment solution, you want to check out Braintree. Braintree V.0 SDK makes it easy to offer multiple mobile payment types. You can start accepting PayPal, Apple Pay, Bitcoin, Venmo cards, more. There's just a bunch of them, all with a simple integration. additional items that you can check out. For developers, you're covered here. With Braintree, this integration is done in minutes. It's super simple. Doesn't take days to integrate it. And it's secure payments. You can code and you can integrate these things quickly. So you don't have to spend, it often is just a few lines of code to get the integration happening. The Braintree code supports Android, supports iOS, JavaScript clients, SDKs in 7 languages. That's .NET, Node.js, Java, Perl, PHP, Python, Ruby. And it's elegant code with clear documentation. And like I said, it's just a few lines of code. It's 10 lines of in-app code, so they make it really easy for you. Braintree gives you an easy way to accept multiple payment types with one integration. It's quick, knowledgeable developer support if you have any questions, so you can get those answered right away. And you can start accepting Apple Pay, PayPal, Bitcoin, Venmo cards, and whatever happens to be next. They're on top of it as this happens, all with a single integration. With the Braintree V.0 SDK, one small snippet of code, and you're all set up in less than 10 minutes. If you want to learn more, and for your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free, all you have to do is go to BraintreePayments.com/Android. You can find out all about Braintree and bringing payment integration into your app, your project. They make it easy. BraintreePayments.com/Android. Check it out for yourself. And we thank Braintree for their continued support of All About Android and the Twit Network. All right, it is that time. It's time to battle it out in the arena.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
True No Limit, that's a really, really good option. All you have to do is drop it in liquid nitrogen and then smash. I like that one. See?
Problem solved.
Yeah, see? Our viewers are way smarter than we are. AAApoll.com/213 was the URL you went to last week to check up on, to place your vote for your favorite app from last week. And what did it end up being?
Ron,
I'm
so relieved.
How did you pull this one out of? You pulled this one out of your hat. Castro wins with 41%.
I'm happy to see that the voting population of the All About Android community did not support Goat Z.
Goat Z. Be careful there.
Goat Zed.
Goat Zed.
Goat Zed. Yes, exactly. But so that edges me out. I've got 7 wins. As Jason, you're tied with the guests with 6 wins. So
wow, this is going to be back and forth.
Getting interesting.
So the pressure is on for both Liam and I today to try and tie Ron and keep him from running away with it. But Castro, great win there, 41%. Goat Simulator, Goat Z, second place at 31%. And then Dub Smash, I thought Dub Smash was like made for the arena, but it also has kind of an awkward quality to it. So maybe my rendition of Lumberg turned people away from it. Whatever, I can accept that. Somebody had to show it off. Florence wasn't here to show it off, so there we go. So there we go. I suppose that means I am first, and so I will show you mine. Mine is called Cinema FV5. Back in the 190s, maybe it was Miriam, I can't remember who it was, but someone brought into the arena Camera FV5. And Camera FV5 is a camera app with a lot of manual control. So if you want to have total control over your camera, and we've had a few of these since then, manual camera. Again, one of Miriam's apps was another one of those. Cinema FV5 is made by the makers of Camera FV5, and it's their video solution for, along the same lines. And so you get a very familiar interface. I'll switch over to Camera FV5 so you can see it really quick. They have the button in there so that it ties into its own apps pretty easily. This is Camera FV5. You've seen this one before. Just tap that video camera, and it takes me right over. And again, that transition didn't work so hot. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Look.
Did we crash it?
Yeah, and I think it's actually, I've seen this on, don't blame Cinema FV5 for this. I think it's the video out. I've seen that before in my recording B-roll for Android App Arena. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. I can roll. You know what I can do?
Do you want me to do the website B-roll?
No.
Oh.
Because you know what? I got it right here. I'll just show you it on my 6. So there we go. Boom. Solved. Cinema FE5 gives you all the controls for, your brightness. I think what I like most about Cinema FE5 and how I've found it very useful is like light metering mode, for example. There's this touch kind of mode. So depending on the shot, I can touch on the spot that I want to meter the light, and it'll adjust based on that. You're not getting a whole lot different because it's so well lit here. And also that goes for focus mode. So I can have like a far off shot here and have focus mode. This would have been way easier if it was on through the thing, but I can use that to focus on something out in the distance or focus close to. So there we go. It's hard to do this at an angle. So this isn't going very well. I'm sorry, you guys. But you've got all of your manual controls. You can throw on, if you want, you can throw on the flash to have continual flash to light up whatever your source happens to be. But I don't know, like it's nice to have a little bit of that extra control. Like you've got your manual ISO controls if you need that, and you're in kind of a darker environment. It's just, I wouldn't say that I would necessarily use this all the time because I end up actually using Google's video camera part of their camera app just out of habit. But sometimes I want to be able to set a specific point of the video to focus on, or light metering. It also has a lot of different modes, right? Like you can take an average of the entire screen, get out of there, for your light metering. You can do it all the way down to like a pinpoint based on where you set that. And then no matter what happens to fall in front of that point, it's going to adjust the light metering. Same goes for focus and all that. So just a little bit more manual control for your video camera aspect of your phone. And I like it a lot. You should check it out. It's Cinema FV5. Right now is actually a pretty good time to check it out too, because they're having a 50% off sale. So it's $249, $2.49. Normally $5, obviously. So you can get it for half off, and you can check it out. And if you have Camera FE5, it's a good kind of supplement to that as well, because they kind of tie into each other. And I hope that my phone doesn't crash the next time that I use it. We'll see. We'll see next, actually, because Liam, you have an app that I really like a lot. I'm going to go ahead and show it off while you talk about it. So tell people about the app that you pick.
Okay, so I chose Weather Timeline. I was surprised to find out that it hadn't been featured already, actually. It's a weather app that's material design. Honestly, I have to say that I'm not even actually that interested in weather. I just love how this app works and how it's structured. It makes me want to care about weather. Mm-hmm. The interface definitely has that fidget factor. Plus, it's just a really good example of designing for data. So there's tons and tons of weather data that you can see here. But it's laid out in a way that makes it understandable and actually fun to use. So I definitely recommend this. They also have some pretty cool widgets for your home screen. So, and I see somebody in the chat asking about fidget factor. That's just what I say about interfaces that have elements that make you want to just play with them idly. Like, for instance, like swiping idly between home screens on your phone. That's just fidgeting. Just small touches that make you want to play with the app.
Yeah, make you want to interact with it more.
Yeah.
And find out what else it has. One thing that you don't want to miss on Weather Timeline that I think is pretty cool is the open time machine. You go there, you can select the date in the future. Let's see here. Let's go October 1st. And then we'll get in the DeLorean. And then it uses past kind of data to give you an estimation of what the weather might be like on the 1st of October. Probably not the most accurate in the world, but still cool to be able to do it based on previous information.
Yeah, and for weather that's in a more reasonable time range, they use the Forecast API, so they're able to access tons of information that's usually pretty accurate. So yeah.
So if I choose a date that's about how soon would you say, in order to get in touch with
I would say probably like maybe a couple weeks, a week or two.
So the 29th. So apparently on May 29th at noon is going to be, 1 o'clock is going to be 72. Okay, that's going to be a good day. All right. I'll mark that on my calendar. There we go. Okay, this is great. I love it. Weather Timeline is awesome. I have it installed on my 6. This is the Nexus 5 that plugs into the system, so I didn't have it installed here, but I do love it. And it's got the nice kind of material design touches. It also has nice wear integration, so you can use it as kind of like a replacement for the standard stock weather notification that comes up on your Wear device.
It definitely gives you a lot more information than just the regular weather.
Yeah, agreed. So that is Weather Timeline. That's 99 cents, right? Yeah, it's 99 cents. Yeah, it's fantastic. This hasn't been in the arena on this show. I had it on the other show a little while back, and I would have brought it here, but I kind of have a rule that I'm trying not to duplicate apps from one show to the other, so I stayed clear.
That's a silly rule.
Is it?
I get it, but it's okay.
I don't know. I mean, I don't need to do it. I just feel like if I'm always doing the same reviews on both shows, then they're the same.
That's fair, I guess. I don't know.
But we could open it up. It'd give me a lot more ammo. It's cool.
Wait a minute. Hang on.
I'll have a lot more apps to go against Ron with. Okay, cool. My phone survived through that demo. Now, Ron, you're up next, and I've got your app installed.
So I've got an app that is not only useful, but the logo is like the inverted Pocket Cast logo, which I just realized as I'm looking at it in the Google Play Store. But it is a web browser. Yeah, I know. Look at that. It is it's kind of a hybrid web browser add-on for your social media kind of apps. It's called Flinks. And basically, it is a way to capture and load in the background links that you see via Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus, so that it's kind of like read it later almost. But the way it integrated, I just thought was really neat. So let's say if you're like me, you're commuting, you're on the train, you're on the bus or whatever it is, and you're going through your timeline, whether it's on Google Plus or on Twitter or on Facebook, and you see somebody post an interesting article. What you can do with this is you can tap on the link to the article, and as opposed to leaving the app you're in, it will load, and you just saw Jason do that, do it again. It loads the page in Flinks, and it's got this little floating little button there, and you can keep scrolling and keep adding things. And that way, if you're like me, I kind of want to get to the point in my timeline where I left off. So I scroll through Twitter, I go through all the recent posts, and then once I've got a bunch of stuff queued up, I can then open them up in Flinks and read the different articles. Like any sort of RSS reader or kind of preloader like Pocket or whatnot, it will remove all the ads or removes all the clutter, and it just gives you the feed of the article itself and whatever photos are needed within there. And what's also great is that it loads them in the background and it loads them locally. So if for some reason you go through a tunnel, or if you're on your commute and you can't get, you lose connectivity, you've already got them loaded, and so you can read them as you continue to travel. So it's just it was a neat little insert into your social media kind of scanning and reviewing of articles that I thought was pretty useful. So so Flinks, it works with Twitter, Google Plus, Facebook, Reddit, WhatsApp, Feedly, all these different places where you might interact with links to articles, and just makes it easier for you to read them on the go. So there it is. It's called Flinks. It's got a nice little bit of material design in there, I believe. If you look at the app itself, it keeps track of the articles that you saved in your history and that sort of thing. And you can move around that little button wherever you want it to be, and you can change the animation. And when you're done with an article, so if you tap on the button and if you tap on the bubble and swipe it down, Jason, just go and it just gets rid of it.
Throw it down.
There it is. Yeah. So
this little flag up here, that adds it to your save it for later. So
yep, exactly.
You end up with it in this list, basically. Yeah. So you can use it as kind of like a Pocket replacement too. Or Pocket's the one that I use. Whatever you happen to use for reading it later. Yeah. Very cool.
So it was one of those apps that I've had my eye on for a while, and then I looked to much like Liam did. I looked at our list of apps, and I'm like, oh, nobody's done this before. That's odd. And so so.
There you go. Right on. Flinks, and that one is free. So we've got Cinema FV5, we've got Weather Timeline, we've got Flinks. You have some work to do. You basically have to vote and let us know which is your favorite. Try not to hold the device crash against Cinema FV5 because it wasn't that.
It wasn't the app's fault. Yeah.
As far as I know, anyways. I'm shortening the URL, and so you should be able to go to, once that is done, aaapoll.com/214. It's taking a long time, apparently. Or you can go to the Google Plus community for All About Android, and I will have it pinned up at the top here. Let me try this again.
You had it all ready before the show started. It was all
I had it,
up.
and it's just like spinning progress bar. This is what happens when you're too on top of it. It's like, yeah, you thought you had it figured out. Let's try that again. Okay, and hoping, just go to the community. I'll have it working later. Go to the All About Android community in Google Plus. You'll find the poll up there at the top, and you can vote for your favorite Cinema FV5, Flinks, or Weather Timeline. And I can post that link to the chat room for anyone that's watching.
I just did that. Yeah, I just did it. Yep.
Yay, you're on it. All right, cool. And vote. Let us know what you think. 3 great apps this week, and we will check in on it next week. Next week, by the way, is the pre-I.O. edition of All About Android. It's actually a pretty great episode. We're going to have Michael Wolfson, who's always on the week of I.O. He's been on, I think, the last 3 years on this show. So he's going to be coming back. It's kind of a tradition to have him on, of course, and we welcome him back. And also Phil Nickinson of Android Central is going to be in studio as well. So they're both going to be on. It's going to be a jam-packed episode. Ron, you're going to be in studio, right?
I will. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Yeah, It's the pre-I.O. extravaganza, and it's always good to see Michael and Phil in person, so I can't wait for next week. So yeah.
Right on. Looking forward to it. As for this week, though, Liam Spradlin, always a pleasure having you on the show. I love getting your insight, especially on the design stuff, but just everything in general. Really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
Great to be here.
Yeah, so I guess this is your opportunity to tell people kind of what you're working on. If you have anything that you're working on in particular, any apps that you're redesigning, whatever it happens to be, you can plug that now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always working on Today Calendar. Opening up my projects folder here. The all-caps beta is now available, so that redesign is out. Of course, Nova Launcher. I highly recommend that.
Yep.
Feed Me, and then we are working on a project over at AP. I don't know when that will be out, but that'll be cool. And then, yeah, Francisco Franco and I are working on something really awesome that will hopefully be out sometime soon.
Fantastic. And then you can be found on Google plus Liam Spradlin, and then Twitter, I guess Liam Spradlin as well. So right on, Liam. Really appreciate it. And we'll have you back again soon. Are you going to be at I.O. this year?
I will not. I did not get lucky in the lottery this year, unfortunately.
You and me both, Liam.
So
if you want to come to San Francisco and stand on Mission Street with me and look in the window in the glass, that's what I'm planning on doing.
I'll be there in spirit.
All right. Well, it's a bummer. I'm sorry we won't see you there this year, but yeah, we'll have you back on the show again soon. Thank you.
Definitely.
Ron, what about you, sir? What you up to?
Yeah, not much. You can go to about.me/RonXO. You can find links to my Twitter and Google Plus and Instagram and all that fun stuff, and you can see what's going on. And working on some stuff in the background, keeping busy, but not going to Google I/O, and that's kind of what my life is like right now. So
your life revolves around not going to Google I/O.
Pretty much, yeah. Lamenting it. But I'm working out how I'm going to be covering it and how I can participate in Twit's coverage, and so that should be fun. So looking forward to doing all that. So
right on. Excellent stuff. Thank you, Ron. Brian, what about you?
Well, you can find me on Know-How doing projects with Padre. Actually, this weekend we went to Maker Faire, so we got to check out some cool stuff. You can follow me at cranky_hippo, but that was Mr. Fusion on the DeLorean they had at Maker Faire, and I think that's what we'll be talking about this week on Know-How. And otherwise, I TD the Screensavers on Saturday. When are you going to be on that show, Jason?
I believe tentatively I'm on the 6th of June.
Waiting on some tips, Jason. You got some Android tips you're going to give for Screensavers?
Maybe.
Maybe.
But that's my tease. Maybe.
Okay. Well, what else do you have going on?
Oh, far too much stuff. Before I kind of end everything, I should say that I meant earlier to interject a correction. I did not mean holodeck. That's Star Trek. I meant HoloLens. Everyone went nuts in the chat, and I was like, I got to correct this like right away, otherwise I'm going to get emails. I'm pretty certain at this point I'm going to get a lot of emails.
I like the holodeck as an alternative. So there you go. Yeah.
It's a pretty honest mistake, but I'm pretty sure every second that ticked by that I didn't mention this correction, one email has landed in the All About Android email box. So it's probably too late at this point. If you've sent it, it's okay. I forgive you. I'm probably just going to shuffle them off to the trash. It was an honest mistake. But you can find me at about.me/Jason Howell. Follow my music at yellowgoldmusic.com. I also have another Android show on the Twit network called Android App Arena. I review 4 apps-ish each week. This week, I'm actually focusing the entire show on Microsoft apps because there's just a lot of really cool stuff going on in the Microsoft world. So I decided, why not? Let's take a look at them all, or at least some of the big ones. So check that out at twit.tv/arena. And that goes, a new episode publishes tomorrow, Wednesday evening. But that is it for this week for this show. You can always leave us a voicemail at 347-SHOW-AAA. You can send us an email at AAA@twit.tv. You can follow us on Twitter. We're at Android Show. We're on Google+. We have a community and an account. Just search for All About Android. You'll find us there. And the active community is awesome. We're on Reddit, twitAAA.reddit.com. We have show notes and past episodes published every week to our show page, twit.tv/AAA. And we're on YouTube and iTunes. You can catch us live every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, live.twit.tv. That's it for this week. We'll see you next week on another episode of All About Android. Bye, you guys.